It was just another morning at the courthouse. The air was thick with tension as defendants and lawyers shuffled in and out of the courtroom, while officers maintained their usual impassive expressions. However, today was different. Today, a man walked in who would soon turn the whole room upside down with his identity. The man was black, tall, with an aura of calmness that seemed out of place in the charged atmosphere of the courtroom. He had a quiet dignity that caught the attention of a few individuals, though most paid him no mind. His name? Marcus Thompson. He appeared to be in his mid-40s, dressed in an unassuming suit, with his hands shackled in front of him. Marcus's demeanor was confident, even in the face of being in handcuffs. He didn't flinch as the officers led him to a seat near the front. A few of the officers chuckled under their breath as they made jokes about him. Bet he's one of those guys who think they can get away with anything because of his fancy lawyer, one of them whispered, a slight smirk on his face. Another cop chimed in, "Yeah, look at him, too calm for someone in his position." But Marcus didn't react to any of the mockery. His expression remained stoic, like he had heard worse in his life. He sat down without a word, his eyes focused ahead. Little did they know, this man was about to flip their world upside down. As the court proceedings began, Marcus's lawyer stood to make an opening statement. He was clearly a seasoned professional, his tone sharp, yet respectful. "Your Honor," the lawyer began, "we are here today on behalf of my client, Mr. Marcus Thompson, who has been wrongly accused of a crime he did not commit. The evidence against him is circumstantial, and we ask that you consider all of the facts before rushing to judgment." Marcus sat silently, his eyes fixed forward as his lawyer spoke on his behalf. The police officers in the room didn't seem to pay him much mind anymore. They were busy whispering amongst themselves, passing judgments, and making snide remarks about the defendant. Then it happened. The judge, a middle-aged man with graying hair, looked down at the paperwork in front of him. "Before we proceed," he said, "can we confirm the identity of the defendant? Mr. Thompson, would you please state your full name for the court?" "Marcus J. Thompson." Marcus replied smoothly, his voice steady. The judge nodded, seemingly satisfied. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. The charges against you are serious, but I will ask the prosecution to proceed with presenting their case." The officer who had been mocking Marcus earlier leaned over to his colleague. "Marcus J. Thompson, huh? Seems like a pretty common name. I don't know who he thinks he's fooling." But that's when everything changed. The courtroom door suddenly opened, and an unannounced visitor stepped inside, a tall, sharply dressed man with a military presence about him. He looked directly at Marcus, and the room fell into an almost eerie silence. The visitor strode confidently toward the front, taking a seat beside the defense attorney. The officers who had been so dismissive of Marcus just a moment ago now watched him with sudden, rapt attention. The visitor was none other than the FBI director. A few seconds passed, and the cops were still processing what had just happened. They exchanged puzzled glances. "Did that guy just sit down next to the defendant?" one whispered. "Isn't that the FBI director?" another officer asked in disbelief. The room was suddenly abuzz with questions. How could Marcus, a man they had been mocking, have such a powerful connection? Why hadn't anyone recognized him sooner? The officers who had been cracking jokes about him just moments ago shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Marcus, however, remained as calm and collected as ever. The FBI director stood up and addressed the court. "Your Honor," he began, his voice strong but calm, "I am here today as a representative of the federal government. Mr. Marcus Thompson is not just a defendant in this courtroom. He is a high-ranking member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'm here to make it clear that the charges against him are baseless, and I ask that you consider this case with the utmost seriousness." The officers who had once mocked Marcus for being too calm now seemed to shrink under the weight of the revelation. One of them shifted nervously, his face turning a shade of red as he realized the man they had been belittling was, in fact, one of the most powerful people in the country. As the FBI director continued to speak, detailing the background and significance of Marcus's work, the courtroom's atmosphere shifted from one of casual disdain to one of shock and reverence. The very man who had been the subject of their jokes and mockery was now revealed to be a key player in the country's national security. It didn't take long for the prosecution to recognize that they had no case against Marcus. They quickly began to retract their accusations. What was once a case about a minor offense had now turned into a public embarrassment for the law enforcement officers who had failed to recognize the man they were dealing with. They had underestimated him. They had mocked him without any understanding of who he truly was. The judge, too, realized the gravity of the situation. It's clear that Mr. Thompson has been the victim of an unfortunate misunderstanding. The judge declared, "I am dismissing all charges against him effective immediately." The officers, now visibly uncomfortable, shuffled out of the courtroom. Their attitudes had completely shifted from mockery to silent shame. As they left, they cast one last glance at Marcus, who remained composed, unfazed by the ordeal. Marcus rose from his seat, his attorney at his side, as the FBI director nodded at him. The two shared a brief, meaningful look, as if silently acknowledging the bizarre turn of events. The media, who had been waiting outside, now rushed in, eager to interview Marcus and the FBI director. The story would make headlines across the nation. The mocking officers had no idea that their laughter would soon become the punchline of a joke far bigger than any they could ever have imagined. In the days that followed, Marcus's story was shared by news outlets worldwide. The police officers who had been so quick to mock him now found themselves the subject of ridicule. They had misjudged him, and the truth had come out in spectacular fashion. Marcus Thompson had been a man of quiet strength, unshaken by the scorn of those who thought they could tear him down. But now he stood tall, not just as a defendant in a courtroom, but as a testament to the power of keeping your dignity even when others try to diminish it. If you were shocked by the way Marcus Thompson handled this ordeal, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Expect stories for more jaw-dropping tales and powerful moments of triumph. You won't want to miss what happens next.